Hey, if you like to shop on Amazon like most everybody, you can help Southgate Media Group out by going to southgatemediagroup.com and look at the top. There's an Amazon link. You can click that, log into your account, and a portion of everything you buy will help support the podcast of Southgate Media. So it's cheap, it's easy, and you're just doing the same thing that you would do anyways.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. I am your host, Tyler, the man of tomorrow, the Superman of blue, and with me this time, once again, is the man that you've all missed, the one you really come here to listen to, the Superman of red, the man of steel, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
The one they come to listen to, huh?
Yep. That's why
How's it going, Tyler?
That's why people listen to the show. They're like, we don't want to listen to Tyler. We just want to listen to you. That's the feedback I get all the time. It's kind of sad.
Oh.
I'm like,
I'm sorry.
Welcome. I am James 1, and this is James 2.
There you go. That nails it down.
Yeah. What a week, man. It was like I was sitting there, you know, we're recording a couple of days later than what we usually do. But that's life, you know, it happens. And what's hilarious is like there was like no news. It was like slow. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine, you know, whatever. And then it was like, so we got
rapid fire.
Yeah, we got quite a few things to like kind of hit on. But before we hit the news, I was gonna say, I recently, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I rediscovered a podcast that I hadn't listened to. I started talking to the host online. But if you're looking for another Superman-based podcast to listen to besides Aspiring Kryptonian and The Last Sons, check out Digging for Kryptonite. It's been a really great podcast to get into. He just recently did an interview with Mark Wade, and as everyone knows, we love Mark Wade. So that is totally worth checking out. Also, so Sayla and I rewatched Supergirl Season 1, the episode with Barry, first time the Flash shows up. Back when, you know, he appeared on Supergirl. And man, do I remember, like, season 1 is just, like, smiles. It's just a breath of fresh air. It was so good. Like, going back and watching Supergirl season 1 stuff, like, it really was awesome in its first season. And Sayla, she comes, I said, we're going to watch this episode. And she's like, oh, Supergirl. Then she goes, oh, The Flash? Both of my favorites together? And so, like, she really loved it. And it was just such a good time to rewatch that. And I look forward to now, Sayla and I are going to rewatch all the first season together.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Be nice to watch the musical one with her too.
Yep,
that's interesting. I'm looking to go back to watch that at some point, season 1, before it went over to CW at all. Super heavy-handed.
Before it became an agenda show. You know, back when it had a message. Yes. And, like, it was there, but it wasn't being slapped in the face. And then it became, like, this will be our political, like, show, which is interesting. And I don't want to dive down the rabbit hole, but, like, it's interesting when they do, like, we'll say Supergirl and Batwoman, shows that are both led by females. They try to get really political. But the other shows that are more male-led, it seems like they try to be more back and just kind of let the message, it's there, but it's not overhanded in your face, and it's interesting. Just dwell on that. Think about it for a little bit. But let's get into some news. Okay, we got a lot of news to go over. A lot. So we'll start with the first thing I have on my list here, and that is somebody's been listening to our podcast at Warner Brothers, and I would like a job. Just want to throw that out there. Okay? Because
that's how they get ideas, is they just have people listen to random stuff so they don't have to be like Ooh, yeah. Let's pay everybody for their for their ideas.
Maybe we should
for their creativity.
Let's just shut up. Like all of our cool ideas are now going to be shifted to our Patreon page because no more stealing my ideas. But no later than I had just recorded an episode with my friend Kelly after we discussed the Super Friends virtual celebration, which I will get to talk to George Newbern. That's pretty exciting. No longer, and then you and I had talked about this, that we get an announcement that we're getting a new Batman the Animated Series. And it's going to be produced by J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves with Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
And, I'm excited because I went on that whole rant about we needing good cartoons again. I want it to be, if I had to pick a series, maybe more in the vein of like The Batman and Batman Brave and the Boldish, where it's fun but serious at the same time. Like, I don't want another like 15-minute episode type thing, 10-minute episodes, non-continuity. And I don't want something as dark and serious that Beware the Batman was, where they took all the fun out of it. Like there was no like recognizable villains really, except like the only episodes of that show we revisit is the Killer Croc episodes because Solo loves Croc, and there's like 2 episodes of that show with him in it. Other than that, it's just like, what is this, But I mean, Bruce Timm has the great track record of the past. I mean, more recently, it's worth noting he was behind the Killing Joke that had the horrible Barbara Gordon Batgirl segment at the beginning. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, that was that was questionable material.
I mean, the idea of having something a little bit more with Barbara Gordon at the beginning, I thought was good, just so that when we get into the book and what happens to her has a little bit more of a resonance.
Yeah. I mean, that was the idea behind it, but the material they stocked it with
was crap.
Was pretty awful.
And that's all we're going to say about that. We've already talked about that.
The only thing I ever said was, when people say that he's a father figure, like, no, she has a dad. Like, that's not even close to right. He's not a father figure to her. But that's the only thing people say that I can defend.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Bruce Timm has a thing for Barbara and Bruce being together. It was in the latter part of Batman the Animated Series. It was in the Batman Beyond kind of thing. So I don't need that.
Yeah, as in Batman. There's a hint in Batman Beyond that it's basically she's pregnant with Bruce's child, not Dick's child, like before he returned. Like there's a short storyline there.
Yeah, and like, I don't need that. Batman Bruce already has enough women around him in his inner circle. I mean, we don't.
That Bruce that would do that seems like a womanizing Bruce,
Yeah, it does. And I'm really excited to see the artwork, see what the real kind of imagery they're going to do, the animation style. I don't think Bruce Timm had anything to do with Justice League Action. So I'm he recently did the Justice League vs. Fatal 5. So we know that this is going to be kind of the first start of the J.J. Abrams influence on DC Universe that we actually are seeing, I think, more get pushed out from him. Because that's his new thing, and there's a lot of people not happy that JJ's there. I'm just going to be positive, like I always. Positive title.
Yeah, questionable things have been done over the years with stories themselves, with the way that the property has been managed, lots of different things in and out. But we always we take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Not everybody's a creative genius.
I know. That's why they need to give me a job. But whatever. I see what they're trying to do here. Just force me out. It's cool. But anyways, let's move on. And guess what else we're getting? A new Superman animated series. What?
I know, right? Isn't that called My Adventures with Superman? Like,
yeah.
It seems like it's going to be told. Just the title makes it seem like it's going to be told from other people's perspectives. Like like Superman and Clark Kent are not going to be the, I wouldn't say main character. Obviously, he's going to be the main character. He's going to be in every episode. But it's like
our main protagonist is going to be like Lois. Like we're kind of following her, maybe her and Jimmy. At the Daily Planet with Clark. So. Yeah, My Adventures of Superman, and we got to see like one image frame of the artwork of what Clark, Lois, and Jimmy look like. And it looks like the animation reminded me of the recent Netflix Voltron. That's what it made me think of. I don't hate it. I'm not overly thrilled about it, but I don't hate it. But I'm just like, okay, I want to see it in motion, It's always the thing is, how does the art work?
Right. Yeah, I've never seen Voltron, the Netflix one.
That is a shame because that was really good.
What is that?
I said years ago, like when I saw the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and I was like, we're in the middle of like the Transformers were everywhere kind of thing. I'm like, if you just mix Transformers and Star Trek together, you get Voltron. Why is this not a movie right now? And the Netflix series is more along the lines of how I think it should have been rebooted on the big screen. But that's
very interesting.
Yeah, it's worth checking out, man. Just want to throw that out there.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah. Someone going to steal that idea too? Huh? And then we'll jump down to this note. We had talked about this before because my kids love the super pets. We are going to be getting a dog when we move, and we're going to name it Crypto or Ace, depending on the dog itself that we pick. And we got confirmation that they're still doing the Super Pets movie, and that The Rock, a.k.a. Dwayne Johnson, will be voicing Crypto. So, awesome. My kids were both excited. And it's funny when your 4-year-old and 6-year-old are both like, "Oh, The Rock." You're like, yeah, they recognize The Rock. So, everybody knows The Rock. Everybody loves The Rock.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just waiting for the movie where The Rock plays Jesus.
He's done a lot of good voice work over the years. At least a bit of voice work over the years, and he's really good at it, as well as he's matured into a much better actor over the years. So it's usually always pretty good to have him in a movie, and especially him rounding out DC films. That's nice, having him in there.
Yeah, it seems like, I just hope that, his track record to Crypto is not the same as his track record to Black Adam. So, yeah. I don't want to wait 6 years for the Super Pets.
I do not.
I don't, I want to enjoy it with children when my children, not adults having children. Anyways. That's exciting. I mean, I think it's cool. Like, it'd be fun to see, and just, I'm still holding hopes for my Superboy and Robin with the Super Pets, or my Superboy and Supergirl, Super Family Show or whatever, because I need to watch something that has Superboy and Supergirl in it so my kids can stop fighting on what to watch.
Yeah, wouldn't it be awesome if an animated show that we had for Superman had Superman and Kara, Supergirl, and Connor Kent and Jonathan Kent in and out of the storylines?
Yeah, I mean,
seeing all these super family people working together and helping each other out.
I'd say just spin it out of Young Justice and go back to Young Justice the way it was before, that tonality. Because I had an interesting conversation with my brother-in-law the other day about how he said, he's like, I went back and was watching Young Justice with kids, and his kids are a little older than mine. His youngest is the same. He's got 3 girls. His youngest is the same age as Solomon, and he lets them watch a little bit more stuff than I let my kids, which is saying something. And, he said, season 3 sucked. And he's very blunt about stuff. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And we talked about it, but basically it boiled down to is like when they made season 3, they took out the tonality that we loved as much. Because when they originally made Young Justice, like it was made for kids, but it was written with that higher level that adults could love and appreciate. But then when they made season 3, they just tried to write it straight for adults, and I think it really lost some. Plus, I didn't care as much for the characters in season. I didn't want to follow Brianna and Violet the whole time. I still wanted my characters of Dick and Connor, and again, and Artemis more than I wanted the new characters.
Right. I mean, it was still fantastic storytelling and world building, but they didn't follow the characters that most people would want to have seen.
Yep. And we're going to continue talking about animation because, just a quick note, The Long Halloween Part 2 is going to be available in July on digital and August on physical, which is weird because Part 1 is going to be digital in June and physical on July. They have never released movies this close together. Even when they did The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 and The Death of Superman and The Reign of the Superman, they were spread out, not a month apart.
Right. When is well, I'm just curious as if they're going to release any more this year because of how close that is together.
Right.
And releasing one in August still gives another 3 months to. It's not necessarily saying they will. We'll probably get the next one in January or something.
Yeah, because usually we get 3 to 4 a year, right? It's 1 a quarter, and then for a while we had that outlier movie, Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go, or the Batman 66, the 2 movies they did for that. There was that offshoot kind of movie. But yeah, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, The Long Halloween. I don't, with them releasing them this a month, I'm kind of tempted to do them. I don't know. We'll probably talk about them as they come out. I don't know if I'd want to wait and try to talk about it all together.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
Because the next animated movie after, because I was trying to think about how they did stuff like Comic-Con style. They would give us what comes July, because Comic-Con was in July. And then after that, we would know what was after that. But since we're doing Fandom in October, I don't know if we'll actually have anything for Comic-Con. But they said the next animated movie they just announced, and it's supposed to be the one after The Long Halloween Part 2, and that's Injustice. Based off the Injustice game, the first one. How do you feel? How do you feel about that for an anime?
Well, I'm a fan of the comic series. Tom Taylor.
Me too.
Wrote Injustice. I really enjoy it. I think he made a world that was that that Superman could go terrifyingly bad in. He's not in a lot of Superman goes bad stories. He doesn't really go that bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's other stories where, like Darkseid, the Elseworlds story where Kal-El lands on Apokolips instead of Earth. He's raised in that setting. He grows up on Apokolips. And even then, that story, he doesn't turn out as bad as he does in Injustice. It's like the farthest turn. And you've got a Superman who was the good guy up until that point. I'm curious as to what they're going to do. How much are they going to do? We've got the story is a 5-year story.
If they're going to do the comic,
there's 5 years of story before the game. Yeah, like you see the game, and the game's got a really good story, but the game only gives you the beginning 5 years ago, and then the present timeline in the game. There's 5 years in between where the comics tell a lot of story, and it's entirely encompassing that universe's DC universe. It's got everybody. You got the Sinestros and the Lanterns. You've got Magic and Mixie and Trigon. You've got the old gods, the Greek gods. There's Apokolips and Lobo. Superman kills Calabac.
I just kind of feel like they're going to base it off the storyline of the game and probably use some of the comic stuff to pad it out. Because the game is more what people think of and know, more so than the comics, which is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they do this, and if this one does well enough, if there will be an Injustice 2 movie like within the next year or so to continue.
Right. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I really want to see what they use, what material they use for it, and the story that they tell, and the animation style as well.
And we might,
because
I think before the film comes out, when we know the film comes out, we'll dig into the comics and we'll talk about the Injustice comics a little. The first season, at least the first one, because I feel like the first volume issues really ties into the start of the game the most, and after that, it tells you more about that. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, it's year one. Volume 1 is basically like the beginning and part of the story of the game, and then it's only the second and third volume of year 5 that launches you into the game where it's at. It's like everything in between is filler. Well, not filler, but is the story that takes place over that 5 years, over that 5-year period. And I don't know, just an interesting thought I just had was, how we know that they are using the multiverse again, and that Justice Society World War II takes place on another Earth. In the Injustice storyline, they bring the Prime Earth characters of the Justice League to the Injustice Earth. And it would be kind of interesting if they actually made this in the
new continuity.
In a new continuity parallel Earth like Justice Society World War II is. Like we see that, and then we get like the Prime people that we're seeing brand new now pulled over onto that Earth before they go back.
Okay. All right.
Just an interesting thought.
No, I think it's a good one. Just because, I mean, we've speculated the Long Halloween might be in that continuity, and then today, they released a clip from the Long Halloween, 1 minute 30 seconds of Bruce and Alfred talk. So it's interesting.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't think they should do it like that would that quickly put it together is the fact that we've only got Flash and Superman on the Prime Earth. Maybe we're gonna have Batman here soon. Next month soon. Yeah. on our new continuity Earth. But that doesn't give us all the characters that are involved.
Right. It rushes.
The Justice League goes over.
Yep. It rushes that was the one thing from Justice Society that if they it was on another Earth instead of just in the past, so we got a Wonder Woman, but we didn't get you said Prime Earth's Wonder Woman. All right, what can we go through here? More news. Okay. So Titans Season 3 now premieres in August. They released a big push on Twitter announcing that. I thought they'd already said it was coming in July, but now it's coming in August, but it did not give us a date for August. Okay. Can't really.
Yeah. I could have swore it was July, and I think it was July 22nd.
It sounds right.
At one point it might have been 15th, and then I think they might have pushed it to the 22nd. Now it's August.
But
they did have everybody in the cast kind of do this thing, and everybody said August. So I think it is a definitive August now, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we're at, So, cool. It's just one of those, keep you updated. Stargirl premieres Tuesday, August 10th. They said summer, and then we got now August 10th, because that's so weird, because I've always, I don't know, just that mindset that August is technically still summer. This was Solomon's last week of school, and we were looking at when we're moving, and their school starts the last week of August. I'm already oh wow, I have the first day of school. I'm already lined up for him. Cool. It's kind of crazy. So there's not a whole lot of news on this, but this is pretty cool. The Batgirl movie will be an HBO Max direct movie, and it has directors. It has the directors that were on Bad Boys for Life, which I never watched. Not because I didn't want to, just because it hit the wrong time, and then I kind of forgot about it.
Same.
But I'm not going to try to say their names because I don't want to butcher them. But they're going to be directing the Batgirl movie. And it will be centered around Barbara Gordon. So that's from the Hollywood Reporter. So awesome. That's just cool that we're getting more information about stuff actually moving forward and happening, and this HBO Max having DC direct film, something they had talked about, is going to be nice.
Well, I think it's better, knowing that HBO Max is moving forward, because they need and want the original IP stuff, the original IP content that DC brings. So if anything, I mean, you definitely want to keep that content coming. When they talk about these movies that are coming out in theaters from Warner Brothers, it's a little harder to know what's actually going to make it to production because of so many, announced projects that never came about.
Yep.
But hopefully, with these Max things, I mean, we've already had a few, given to us, and production on a few. So,
yeah, it really will be nice to actually be
confident that these projects are coming out.
Yeah.
that these announced projects are actually going to get made.
And
Yes,
that's the thing
sure.
is, my friend said to me, he said, no movie is real until you see a trailer. I said, yep. And even then, we just know that it exists in some form. We don't know if it actually, what it is. That's just me. Let's see here. Next thing we have on our list of agenda is this week is the last episode of Black Lightning. It is a show that, I have kept up with. It's had its good, it's had its bad. And I was watching the last episode, and I'm like, the way they did it, I was like, man, this is it. I couldn't remember how many episodes the season was, and it's like 12 or 13. And I looked it up, and
oh wow, that's even low, I think.
Yeah, and this week is the final episode of Black Lightning. It will bring the series to a close.
Wow.
And
well,
yeah.
That's with the Netflix deal, it'll be coming out for us on Netflix in just a couple of weeks then, and I'll have to binge the season and finish up Black Lightning.
I mean, I hope it hits.
Because I haven't watched anything of it this season.
It's one of those.
So I'll just have to binge the whole one.
It bums me out because I really enjoy the interaction between Jefferson and Barry, on the crossover last time. And I had hoped that maybe we would have got to see them again. And it all kind of depends on how it ends. Maybe we can get like a later, like just, he appears or something. But
yeah, Jefferson come on the Flash next season as opposed to, yeah. It would probably just for the fact of the way that Canada has been set up for COVID protocols and filming and everybody working, everybody doing their thing. Like, it would probably be easy to set up an episode where he comes next year and, depending on what the protocols are, it would be easier to make that happen.
Oh, I say yes, and I say they need it just because of how the Flash is, about to lose Cisco, and then, Tom Cavanaugh is officially going to be done, and we need another kind of somebody for Barry. And speaking of somebody for Barry, we got our first official image of Impulse. And
yes, we did. Well, like what I said to you when you sent me that image, I said that is straight up a comic book image. Like, it is right off of a cover of Impulse.
Yeah.
And which is cool, which is awesome because the suit looks great and everything. But the fact that it's a guy in a live action doing that and looking so jovial, it looks kind of funny. It kind of looks kind of goofy. I don't hate it or nothing, but it just looks kind of goofy. And hi, Solo. I heard him.
One, the Impulse suit looks great. Two, I don't know the actor. I've never seen him anything, which is fine. But I don't know how young he is because Impulse is always supposed to be, younger. He's a kid. Like, I don't want him to be too aged up. Like, I want more of that youthful, childlike energy from Impulse. That's what makes him so great. Two, we also know that a lot of times the first official release photos of these characters, a lot of times are horrible. Thinking back to, the first Supergirl, the first Flash, the first Superman, the first, trying to think, a lot of them weren't that great. Sometimes the side characters were better, like Rain. I remember her big first photo was kind of cool. But as far as the Impulse thing goes, I heard probably the best description I've heard on it was somebody said it looks straight up like one of those when you're at Disneyland or a carnival and you get your face put on like a superhero body.
Right.
And then I thought about.
Well, that's just a compliment on the suit. how comic accurate it is.
Then I thought about the picture we have hanging up of Solomon where we were at Disney and he got his face put on the Iron Man suit from Civil War. And I'm like, yep, that's what that picture of Impulse feels like. But I'm excited to see how they do the Impulse thing, how old they'll make him to the character, but also how far in the future he'll be from. Because originally, wasn't he like Barry's great grandson? But then they made him like his grandson. They like shrunk it down at certain times. So I'm curious to see when exactly Impulse will appear in family lineage.
When he'll come from, and the fact that we know that in the episode XS is supposed to be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, are they like a brother and sister duo?
I hope not. Like, I like the grand son aspect, the next generation. But it'd be nice to see XS back. He was a great character. So we'll.
And speaking of Tom Cavanaugh, he's set to direct the season finale of Superman and Lois.
Yeah, I believe so. And isn't the upcoming episode of Superman and Lois directed by Dave Ramsey, I believe? So.
One of them coming up soon. Yeah. I can't remember the.
It's like Man of Steel or something with Man and Steel. Look at the title, which I think is the next episode. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure if it was 7, 8, or 12. Those numbers are striking me. I don't know.
Because I felt like
which one it is exactly.
Yeah, I think 7 he's directing, and then one of those he's appearing in. I think is what it.
Well, because he's gonna be on Legends. He's in an episode of Legends. He's supposed to return for an episode of The Flash. I think.
He's supposed to. He is the crossover this year, basically. His character appearing on the
I think so.
I was kind of bummed that he did not appear on Black Lightning. To really tie in the fact that he's supposed to be Lynn's brother, especially in a post-crisis world, we can make it all work. So that kind of bummed me out. Since they kind of recalibrated that he's actually Jon Stewart. So,
well, with Crisis now,
they can make it cleaner,
make it cleaner than that he's more of a Jon Stewart.
And then the last thing I want to say before we jump in our episode here, I have been keeping up with Batwoman just because I wanted to see, because I keep up with all the DC shows because I'm pathetic. But
you have a little more time than me. Otherwise, I'm usually pretty close right there behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I have. It's been weird.
Our lives are our family and DC.
Yeah, that is it. That is 2 things. I will say the past couple of episodes have gotten better. Because they've introduced more of they've turned up the Black Mask. We met Stephanie Brown in a cool episode. Yeah, she wasn't blonde. That was upsetting. And then this last episode with Luke Fox had a good moment, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger. But then at the same time, we've seen behind the scenes that he is going to become Batwing at some point this season. So yeah, the past 2 episodes were better moving the story along, because now we have the Wallace Day as the new version of Kate and what that is and where that's going. So,
right. That one image we saw of Batwing, I was like, that. I saw an image they posted. Somebody posted, the set pics, the behind the scenes pics of it, and he's wearing a robe and stuff too, so you only can see the front of it. You don't have a full. We haven't seen a promotional image for Batwing, but from the looks of it, it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty fairly accurate. Anyways, it's got like the blue or the silver bat symbol on the black suit.
Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to say, if you haven't done so yet, but check out the Aspiring Kryptonian podcast as well as the Last Sons of Krypton podcast, both hosted by friends of ours. Good time in the world of Superman.
As we move on to our next segment, I want to address, yes, Superman Red and Blue number 3 came out this week, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. But James and I are going to wait, and we're going to really review it, and we're going to do another special where we do 2 parts together. Last time we did 1 and 2. So we're going to wait till next month and do Superman Red and Blue number 3 and 4. Just want to throw that out there to everyone so everyone's not like, oh no, where is it? It's coming. It's been great, and we definitely want to keep that alive because that has been a bright, shining addition to, just the Superman catalog of comics.
Yeah, sure.
And it has our names in the title, Red and Blue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Superman
Superman Red, Superman Blue.
I didn't think about that. But now, dear listeners, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Superman and Lois, Season 1, Episode 6, Broken Trust. Give you a quick synopsis here. Clark reconsiders his decision to let Jordan play football. Lois' continued investigation of Morgan Edge requires her to trust an unexpected ally. That is the lamest, most nothing synopsis. Thanks a lot, Internet. I will say this. Besides the first episode, which has all those like Superman high points for a fan, this is my favorite episode.
Yeah, I think there's some really good stuff in this episode.
This was a very, very well done episode, and the only thing about this show that bums me out is we have so many storylines that we're not getting more of Clark and Superman. Because this is definitely Superman I'd love to follow more, but it's like we have to have our little Morgan Edge moment, our Lana and her husband, then you have the kids, Jonathan, Jordan, Sarah, you have Lois, and you have Clark. There's a lot going on.
You have Lex, and you have Leslie Lar.
You think about Smallville. You had like Clark. He's your main protagonist, and Lex, and then you had some Lana. Those are your three. And then sometimes we'd have some Jonathan and Martha stuff, but really, we were following Clark and Lex. And this, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more of an ensemble, which is cool. But man, am I really, really loving Tyler as Superman.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic, and I think he's doing great as a older Superman and a father.
Yeah, I mean he is like he talked about. I read an interview, and he's our age. What is it? I think he's like a year younger.
I think that's what we found out. I think he was a year younger than us.
Yeah, like it's right there, like within a year. So, not a big deal once you reach our age.
Yeah, for sure.
And he talked about, he's not a father, but he is an uncle, and he tries to channel that, when he's doing. And I think he's doing an amazing job. So it's awesome, especially in this episode.
Oh yeah. The training scene, and then the end scene where they're not the end, but like close to the end when they're all in the kitchen before or when Jonathan goes to bed.
Yeah, and
it's like he has a right to be, he has a right to be angry, and you say you're different than me, but you're not. Like, yeah, he and I said it a little more smart alecky, I guess, than he delivered it. He delivered it very well, but yeah, he's doing a really good job. I like that.
So we're going to talk about this, and I have in my notes kind of like a beat by beat kind of thing, but I kind of want to do one thing different. I want to we'll discuss, but I want to keep Lois to like the end, or we can do Lois first. But I feel like her storyline is so much apart from the rest of the storyline. I feel like the other stuff all really connects in the episode, and Lois' storyline is what's going to lead us and bridge us to like the overarching series. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, understandably so. I mean, Tyler's Superman and Sam interactions, kind of another thing that's part of our overarching story of what we're getting this season. But I think Lois is the other side of that.
So let's talk about Lois, kind of her in this episode first, and then we'll get into the rest of it. So basically, we really start with Lois in this part where she's investigating Morgan Edge. She goes to Lana and Kyle for help getting her in the mines because she wants to investigate. Quick note, Lana was given a large promotion by Morgan Edge as he's reopening the mines. And of course, they're both hesitant, which is understandably, One thing I've said to Jania while watching this is I like the way they've done Kyle because he's coming off a little harsh, but he's not coming off unbelievable or as someone that I don't understand where he's coming from. He's not just drunkard, husband, I hate you person. He has a good heart for what he's trying to do for his town. And he's blind, but to some things, but I understand.
Yeah. Well, we all probably have known somebody who is that close-minded. Can only see one thing in front of their face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is concerned, he's part of the town. He grew up there. He is concerned. That's his concern of him and his friends and his family and people like that being able to have a life. It seems to me in this show that Morgan Edge has been playing the long game in Smallville. Like tearing the way that he bought the bank and all of these second mortgages and reverse mortgages and things like that, trying to get this town so desperate that he can come in and without even trying, they'll welcome him with open arms.
Yep.
It
really makes you think when this started, like when he started planting seeds. Maybe he's the reason that Smallville started to really fold up in the first place.
Well, how many years ago was it that the meteors were coming down? At the beginning of that one episode? I can't recall.
I need to go back and watch it again because I thought of that and I don't remember.
So, I think this is a thing he's been doing for years.
Mm-hmm.
6 is striking me for that, but I can't sure.
I'm horrible with math, so just throw that out there. I can find the slope of a line, but anything that's really helped me in daily life. So Marcus shows up, and he presents Lois with these passes to get into the mines, and he has 2, and she says, "Oh, how did you get 2?" He's like, "Well," he puts it, "a lone black man might be suspicious, but the 2 of us going in together wouldn't be." I was like, "Okay, I'll roll with it. Sure, okay."
Possibly.
I mean,
inspectors, Middle America,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go with it. They get in there and Marcus knows more than what he should know. He's dropping lines about, I had a friend do this and a friend set me up this. Lois, of course, her instincts are kicking in. He has a saw, laser weapon thing that gets him right into, and he pulls out X-Kryptonite. He's like, "It's X-Kryptonite, the rare all kryptonite." Lois like, "X-Kryptonite?" And then my kids are like, "What does X-Kryptonite do, Daddy?" Because my kids have been on this huge kick of, "What's this color kryptonite do?" Because when they play, they start throwing out that they're fighting with different kryptonite. Pretty sweet, actually. But at the same time, I'm like, well, in the comics it did this, but in TV, I'm trying to give them a whole breakdown of color spectrum.
Yeah. I heard though that X-Kryptonite exists in the comics somewhere, and that it is a kryptonite that gives powers to people.
Sweet. That's all I got to say. Sweet. And like we talked about before, my thought on kryptonite was I always thought of it as the Earth. Our Earth has the crust and the different layers, and I always thought about the kryptonite colors for the different layers of the planet, and the closer you got to the core, the more radiation it has from the planet's explosion. So maybe the planet Krypton had multiple layers. That's just how I've always...
different That's how I always thought it was the different minerals, how we have different minerals and periodic table. What's the
elements?
Elements. There we go. Get there. Different minerals and different elements. It would only make sense that Krypton is composed of different minerals and elements, and either from the explosion or exposure to Earth's yellow sun radiation, it's what gives them their effects.
Exactly. So that's what I chalk all the different kryptonite up to. But so Leslie Laura attacks. They fight Leslie, and they basically go out, and Lois is like, "You are armed to the teeth. You have to tell me what's going on. I don't believe that you're a reporter." And he's like, "I can't tell you." And he tries to go into a little bit, and then Lois gets a phone call, and then she basically says, "This is on hold. We'll talk about this more later." And she exits. And then at the end of the episode, after some things transpire, Lana and Sarah are visiting Lois and the boys. And Lana and Lois have a discussion, and Lana is going to go behind Kyle's back and help Lois. And we're going to put a pin in Lois for a moment, and we're going to start back at the beginning of the episode. Ready, James? Let's go back. Do-do-do. So this episode, once again, like a lot of these episodes it picks up right where the last one left off, where Tag, had come out and punched attacked Jordan, and, they're fighting, and Jordan's struggling to get to his transceivers thing that I can never remember the name for. I just always say, "Where's the signal watch?" is what I tell Jania. But,
right.
But he hits that sucker, and it's like, and just, it's like he presses the button. Like, it looks like he hasn't even finished pressing the button, and then, boom, drops down Superman. And immediately, Superman's like, he looks at him, he's like, "I'm not here to hurt you. Stop." And then Tag runs, because Tag can move really fast.
Well, Tag says, "You put me in that place."
Yeah, and he's trying to figure out, like, what's going on, And, what do you call it? He looks at Jordan, like, "You okay?" Jordan's like, "Yes." And then Superman goes after Tag. And this scene was awesome, first of all.
Oh, yeah, I liked it.
But what was awesome is, so I saved this episode to watch with Jania, and Jania and I watched it together. And then the next day, the kids asked to watch it while we had lunch. And my kids, like, enjoyed this. They were like, oh, like, Sayla got all excited, like, hands over the mouth, like, "Oh no, Daddy, what's going on?" So it was thrilling to watch it with them, to see, like, Superman in action,
Yeah, that's really cool.
I know your kids are older.
None of us are. Yeah, my kids are only about their tablets and their phones and stuff, so they don't sit down with me as much anymore. I get them to do it once in a while and stuff, but they're preteens now, so
you have to beat them in a submission. Like, "Get over here, kid."
Yeah, like, "Nope, it's family time. Come sit down and watch Superman and Lois. Get your butts in here." No, none of us. Well, we're not so naive to believe that this quote unquote special school for people with powers, for these individuals like Tag,
The
like
Xavier Institute for gifted people.
Yeah,
because that's what his outfit.
It's
looks
not
like.
the Xavier. Yeah, it's not the Xavier Institute. It's definitely this place where they experiment on people with abilities, or they try to turn them into weapons. Like, that they're up to no good, and he does not want to go back. He knows that they're not helping him.
Which brings me to, at this part, but then at the end, why is he going to the DOD and not Argus? That's my first thought. Why has Argus not been mentioned yet? Have we had Argus? I'm pretty sure we have post-crisis. Because to me, that's where you put the metahuman, people with abilities who are metahumans, like the general term, So I'm kind of thinking something's up or what? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, just a thought. Why isn't that who Superman's getting hold of? Or who, Tag's point with. So,
Right.
but
Well, I mean, Superman has had dealings with Argus and stuff, but Superman's dealings have always been more military and things like that, not as black site
yeah,
as like Oliver would have been in like why Argus was in Arrow before,
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's just, it's one of those things. Just now that we're like on the one world thing, one world.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is Tag is running and he crosses in front of a train, but he clips the train tracks. And so what happens is the train starts to go off the rails and Superman flies under, catches the train, holds the train steady, uses his heat vision to melt and fix the tracks, then puts the train back down. It was awesome.
For real, it was. I was like, oh man, that is such a sweet scene. I missed that actually the first time I watched it. I didn't get home until about 10 minutes after it started. So I missed that the first time. I watched the rest of the episode and then I had to watch it on Prime when it came out. And I saw that and I was like, oh, that is so cool. He catches the front of the train so as to stop it from going out of control. Uses his heat vision to heat up the rails so that way all the bends that Tag created from hitting the rails are superheated and pliable, and he lowers the train back onto the rails and they all just kind of straighten and it continues to go. I was like, that is so much cooler than stopping a train.
Right. Right. Yes, it is. And that also is like an experienced Superman. Someone who's been doing this for a while. He knows, his powers, his physics, and how to interact with people and save things. So then our next big beat is when, Jordan says, Tag had talked about a video of me and seeing me and whatever, and Lois says, I hate the internet, which I thought was hilarious. Just because I hate it and I love it at the same time. But, so they're talking about the mines, okay? And Clark makes the conversation point of the mines are lined with lead fibers, and I can't see in them. Jania turns to me and says, why doesn't he just burrow under the ground and then go underneath them and like look up and look at them from underneath? And I looked at her and I was like, I love it.
I mean, if they're hiding it with lead, I mean, somehow they got lead in there to hide things. Like they probably took care of like the floor, the ceiling, the walls,
But it's a thought, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It makes it's a rational thought when it comes to Superman.
Like, he could do that, or he could just go under, then pop up, like, around. But whatever, it's cool. So we see that Jordan is getting headaches. And at first, it's John scrapes his bowl from breakfast, and Jordan kind of reacts, and I'm thinking to myself, like, is Jordan's like super hearing starting to come into play? But we see him starting to get headaches. And
yeah, when he was hit by Tag, when he was getting punched and beat up by Tag, he started to get a high pitch whining in his ears, and yeah, it seemed like his super hearing starting to kick in.
Clark asks him, "Are you doing okay?" He says, "Headache, but no big deal." The boys are getting ready for a big game, and they're really excited and they want to do this big game. So, okay.
Well, the big game's against Metropolis. John's old team, and Jordan was treated like crap, was bullied by the football team.
Why?
In Metropolis.
Why is it against Metropolis? How does that make sense?
Yeah, how close is Smallville to Metropolis? This is this is Smallville all over again.
Right? Because, in the first episode, they start establishing that there's distance. And, even when they move and they talk about him going to live there and talk about all the way in Metropolis, okay? When Jonathan wants to go live with some friends to, continue, okay? I've lived in different states. I have been involved in sports in different states. Never have I played a team hours away unless it was a big tournament or like state competition or anything like that.
Absolutely.
In a regular season, okay? Within 40 minutes, just because we're in a rural area, or the schools that we played with, And what's funny is even in where I'm at now, there are 4 high schools in this county, and they all play each other, So, usually your season is like 8, maybe 12 games, depending on the sport. I played. Let's see, I did soccer, I did football, I did tennis. I even did bowling during the winter because it was free and it was something to do. Because I didn't feel like wrestling in high school because they took it way too seriously. And basketball's never been my thing. I love to shoot, but all that running when I could just sit there and shoot threes all day, well, why? Why dunk? You can get 3 points from one shot. It's just a waste of energy. So, state tennis tournaments, state. What I did. Yeah, it was completely like baffling, the distance. Unless it was like, oh, we've made it to, state. Like, that could have been cool. Like, Smallville's going to state. And at state, the first team they play against is Metropolis. That would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah. I played sports at a city school.
Now, before they get to the game, okay, we learn that Sarah is coming. Jordan is excited. Jordan has a headache, runs into the bathroom, starts to get heat vision. Jonathan's, of course, got his back, got his covered like a good brother. And he tells him, it's been headaches and don't want to tell Dad. I want to play the game. And Jordan expresses how the kids at Metropolis made him feel, how they picked on him. They made his life a living hell, and it was his time to get back at him. So I was like, okay, all right, I get it. Like, I totally get it. Like, it makes sense to me. Because we see that when Jonathan shuts his locker, Jordan reacts like as if he slammed it really loud. Let's jump ahead to when Clark is going to help Jordan learn because of his strength, his power. And he takes him underneath the farmhouse in the barn to the log. He pulls out the log. There's a bunch of like handprints on it. And he tells that's how he learned his strength, the practice he did with Pa Kent. This was great. I loved it. But I like the 3 of them bonding. And I love when he's like, all right, Jordan, hit it. And he hits it and he hurts his hand. He's like, okay, I was going on instinct. Didn't work. And then it's Jonathan who shows Jordan how to channel his frustration by picturing that it's Butter, I think was his name, from Metropolis. And Jordan punches it hard. And then just the scene of the pure joy that all 3 of them share was awesome. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, they had, and that's another scene where Tyler is, shining as a father. He's really excited about his son being able to control himself.
I mean, it is great to see how happy they all are, and I'm loving it, every moment of it. Clark gets a call, and he has to exit, and it's Sam, and they're trying to find Tag. What we find out is Lana and Kyler are going to go on a date. Sarah volunteers to babysit Sophie, and she's going to miss out on the game. And it's great because I feel like they weren't pressing like the issue of like, oh, Sarah's, still suicidal or whatever. They put their trust in Sarah, and I like that when Sarah disappears, you find out that Tag kidnaps her, talk to her. They don't immediately like go off and blame Sarah. Like they find footage of Tag showing up at their house. And it was nice. Like, the parents immediately weren't like, oh my gosh, they were genuinely concerned. Of course, Lana calls Clark to see if she came to the game. And as she's talking to Clark hears the mention of tag, and he takes off. Now, back to the Metropolis game. The game is awesome. You see the boys playing. I liked it was during the day. That felt a little bit more believable than being like the big night thing, though a lot of football games are played at night in high school. It just kind of depends, especially if you're in a tournament.
Yeah, you're varsity high school. The thing I feel is that the team is kind of crapped on now because the main quarterback or their starting quarterback is hurt because of Jordan's headaches, and then later on, what happens with Jonathan?
Yeah, and my thing is Jonathan's always like upbeat, and like the quarterback gets hurt, and he says to the coach like, I can. He's like, I can play or whatever, and the coach is like, we ain't got no quarterback. Yeah, you do, coach. Like, why is the coach a dick? Like, straight up. Like, I'm sorry, even as not the parent of a child on the team like Clark, I would have to say something to the coach like, you're like not building up these players, these athletes. You're being a hole, like completely.
Yeah, well, this is high school football. This isn't your collegiate level, and it's not pro level. Where it's all about the winning. This is high school football, and these students are children, and they're student athletes. Like, student comes first.
They're not getting anything out of this. Like, yeah, they might have the chance for scholarship or whatever, but they're not getting paid. They're not getting sponsorships. Like, they are playing for enjoyment and love of the game. But basically, he puts John in. He's like, show me what you can do. He's like, I know our plays. I know their plays. I know their defense. To me, right there, having him as a player against this team would have been valuable for like the pre-team, like locker room, like getting in their head, learning their play. Like, then they would have had to maybe change their plays up, knowing that John's on the other team. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have been utilizing his knowledge as a coach. I would have been utilizing his knowledge. So anyways, he goes in, and I just want to point out that I love the fact.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the starting quarterback. He was going to be their starting quarterback. Jonathan was going to be their starting quarterback. Like, why would you not use that?
Exactly. But Coach the idiot. I do like that their jerseys are 12 and 24. Like, my favorite number is 12, but 12 and 24, they're twins. It's pretty awesome. Anyways, he goes in. Of course, the Metropolis team talks back, says some smack to him about Liza, about he's now, Liza's now his girl. Trying to get in Jonathan's head. The short part is they get a touchdown. Then Jordan, the second time Jonathan throws a pass, Jonathan scores a touchdown, but then the whole Metropolis team start basically dogpiling on Jordan, start beating on it. And
yeah, like the first time Jordan hit Cutter, the little dickhead dude on the other team, Jordan checked him and he knocked him out, took him out, and they scored a touchdown. And then the last play we see, they completely, like, if I was the other quarterback, or if I was the other coach for the other team, and my team just completely, I don't care if I was losing, if the game was lost and my team decided to let the quarterback go and run and score a touchdown and focus on jumping a kid on the field, oh my God, all those kids would be running until they died, dude.
Oh, yeah. That is unsportsmanlike, straight up. Like, we don't even meet the coach.
Oh, yeah. It was
like,
horrible.
We don't even meet the coach from Metropolis. There's no, like the other coach saying some shade towards Jonathan or whatever. Like, yeah, if my team did that, they would be running suicides and sprints. If they didn't want to run, they were off the team. That was it. Done. Because that's unsportsmanlike. And that cost them the game, too, of taking their focus off. But what I love about this scene is I love when Jordan starts to lose it and Clark sees it and he runs over and he just puts his hand down and says, let it out. And Jordan just lets out blast into Clark's hand.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
that was
and in full
epic.
Yeah. That was really cool. I actually seen a comment. This is off of the show. I actually seen a comment said, so why didn't Superman do that to Zod? Talking about Man of Steel. I was like, oh my Lord.
I was like, okay, here's my quick thought. One, more experienced, more powerful Superman. Been exposed to the sun longer. He knows its powers. He knows its limits. Two, it's believable.
Two, it's a child.
Jonathan's power level is probably nowhere near as high as Zod's power is. And Clark probably has more of an understanding of what he can withstand because he's experienced compared to Superman Clark, Henry Cavill, just started Superman. And this is his first time fighting another, superpower.
Plus, what's he going to do? Just hold his hands over his eyes forever?
Yeah. So I wasn't going to go down that rabbit hole because it's just one of those like, it's just like, oh, why didn't he, why a Man of Steel didn't he just rip the symbol off his shirt, his chest and throw the cellophane and capture Zod that way?
Right.
Anyways, so that was a powerful moment.
I just saw that comment and I just shook my head. I didn't even want to go down a tangent. I just wanted to say something about it because it doesn't merit. It's a stupid comment. It has no merit to get a response.
So back at the hotel, and Jordan and Clark are arguing. And Jordan makes a comment: "You get to grow up and be Superman. I'm not you." Well, yeah, Clark grew up to be Superman. He wasn't always destined to be. Like, that wasn't like who I'm going to be. This is my all. He didn't know where his future was taking him. And Jordan's just being irrational. He doesn't know what's going on, It mirrors in the way of like, Clark, we don't know how this Clark's powers developed or what he went. And he's trying to explain that to his son. And his son's like trying to say like how different they are. And I like that John is very much trying to be the voice of reason. He is withholding so much of his emotions, you can tell. He's trying to be there for his brother. John's life is the one that's really taking a turn down. And then when the boys show up after Clark leaves to go find Tag, and they're like, oh man, let's go get a drink and find some millennial to buy us a sixer. That made me feel old.
Right.
Jordan doesn't want to go. He's trying to be cool, or Jordan wants to go. John doesn't want to go. He's trying to be the voice of reason. And I'm like, all right. And then, of course, Superman finds Tag. And I'm going to do Superman. Like, I wrote this, like, based off because we have intercutting scenes. So, also why Tag could go to Starlab. Put that out there. So Tag is sitting there talking with Sarah, trying to tell her. Superman shows up. Immediately, he's like, I don't want to hurt you. This is what's going on. And then Superman hears the soldier showing up, and he tries to tell Tag, we have to get out of here. Let's go. Haven't done anything yet. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And then the soldiers come in. Clark tells them to stand down, not do anything. So they start shooting at Tag. And Clark, boom, gets in there, jumps in front of him, takes the bullets. Then one soldier shoots him with kryptonite. Dude, this scene where he rips it out, yells, and then his eyes go red, and he just gets in their face and is like yelling, looks at them with his eyes full, and just tells them to stand down. And he, like, the acting power and just the mirroring what's going on with his son. And we're going to get that in a second. The resolve and just the ability to hold back. That's super.
Yeah, after soldiers try to shoot a kid and kill him with live ammunition, and then they shoot Superman with kryptonite ammunition. Like, we saw Cavill with his eyes, where is she? But this getting right into a soldier's face with his eyes glowing red and just like composing himself and just so angrily telling him to stand down.
Oh, he looks like he's shaking.
Like
he's so like he could just annihilate all of it, but he can't. And that's what makes Superman.
Oh yeah. Well, what is going on here is this Superman seems to not know in all of his time. He hasn't bumped heads that hard with General Sam Lane, like with General Lane. He was naive, like, to think, he just earlier in the season, he realizes, or he finds out that he has kryptonite. And now he finds out that he's weaponizing kryptonite. There's bullets of kryptonite.
Yeah. Because, it makes more sense when we think about the closing the gap of how long he was Superman, how before him and Lois got married and had kids, kind of compressing that timeline. Because we'll take a step further here that, he goes and he faces Sam, and he says you were going to shoot him live ammunition, and Sam gets the speech. My job is to protect the American people, whatever. And he says you had a loaded kryptonite weapon, and he goes, and Clark looks at him, and now I know. And then Clark hears Jordan's voice saying John's hurt, and now we'll rewind. While that was going on with Clark, we have a scene set up where Jordan and John and the Smallville boys, Crows with the wrong color, are meeting up with the Metropolis boys, and they start picking on Jordan, calling him short stack or JoJo, and John's trying to de-escalate, man. Like, he is like, let's go, Jordan, let's go, and Jordan just looks at Cutter in the face and pulls back. He goes, you can see it, punch Cutter, and Jordan Jonathan puts his hand up and takes the punch, and it breaks his hand.
Yeah. See, what I thought was going to happen in that scene was I thought John was going to have some powers,
I think he did.
I didn't quite expect him. I think so too. You know what I mean? I think it was a glimpse of powers.
It looks like he moves fast, because that's been my thing. It looks like he's inherited.
Well, then also the impact when they come together makes a small ripple, a small boom.
Yes.
And I think that was because of them coming together. But I think it was both of their strength. You know what I mean? Like Jonathan's emerging powers a little bit slower, a little bit more.
I think Jonathan has speed is his biggest thing. Because it always looks like if you watch certain things, it seems like he moves quick. And I think Jonathan's powers haven't emerged because he hasn't had the emotional trauma or emotional events the way Jordan had. Because Jordan's has been processing through times of great stress and anger as he turns to the dark side. That's it. But, part of me thought maybe Jonathan would jump up and punch Cutter first, and take him down so that it would, break the tension. He knew Jordan's about to do something. But no, he took the punch, and then you find out he has passed for 6 weeks. He maybe will lose the full range of motion in his hand, and he says, I'll probably never play quarterback again. And Jordan tries to apologize, and John just says, shut up. He says, I tried to tell you to stop, but and John has every right to think. Like, I've been on both sides of the emotion and the stuff that both characters are with, so I get it from both perspectives. But John has been so, accommodating to Jordan. It was like forever, And
right.
John basically just lost his chance of getting who he loves most by stopping his brother.
Yeah. Well, exactly. John, he's been accommodating. He's sacrificed the most. And he has every right to be angry. He was the one who said that they shouldn't go out, that they can't go out, that their dad told them to stay. Jordan was the one who said, man, let's go, And so he has to go with his brother because he doesn't know what's going to happen. Like, he has these flare-ups. He has emotional breakdowns, things like
Triggers.
that. He's got powers. You know what I mean? So John feels responsible for him. And so he has to go, whether he wants to or not. If Jordan's going, he has to go. So Jordan convinces him to leave, and they go, and they're hanging out, And then, he's trying to calm him down. He's trying to de-escalate the situation because that kid Cutter is being a real asshole.
Yes.
I mean, one thing with what those kids did on the football field, like, none of them would be going out.
No,
like,
they'd be too tired.
They'd still be
They'd
running.
Be too tired.
They'd still be running.
They would be running.
And they'd be running, or they'd be at home, like on lockdown. One or the other. They wouldn't be out running the streets, hanging out after what they pulled at the game.
Oh, they'd be too tired to go for a walk. Like, they would be crawl.
Oh, for
after
real.
They got done running, they would have to crawl. Or you know what? They would just camp out.
Yeah, after the game's over, don't even take off your pads. You're running in full gear until you pass out. You're going. You're not doing. You're not.
They might be. What do you call it? They might be just camping on the football field because they're gonna be so tired after I got done running. So.
Yeah, for real. And then he takes away by stopping his punch there. He breaks his hand, breaks his arm. He takes away his ability to play football. The one thing he had, the one thing he sacrificed, and now it's just completely gone.
And then, Jordan tries to apologize, and Clark and Lois are both kind of like, we know that, but you still did wrong. And then Clark says, those feelings you have, I have them too. I get tested. He gives an amazing speech about trust. And he says, when I showed up with my abilities, everybody was afraid of what I could do, and I had to earn their trust to understand that I was here to hurt them. He says, every time I go out and use my ability, that trust is tested. And if I break that trust, it's a lot harder to turn back. And then he says, we're not so different. And that speech was great and solid.
Yeah.
And then we have a real quick dialogue where Lois is like, yeah, so Marcus isn't a reporter, blah, blah, blah. We're in the mines. We found X-Kryptonite. I almost got killed. And he's like, what? Wait, what? Whoa. And he's like, X-Kryptonite?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I would be focused on, X-Kryptonite. I'd be like, okay, to the fortress I go. And it's just like a bombardment of everything. And then we get the next day where we have the Lois Lana scene. And then Jordan basically has to lie to Sarah. And something like Benia mentioned is if Jordan, he can't tell Sarah because his secret is part of someone else's secret. And since we're in a world where Clark never told Lana that he's Superman, it's even bigger. Because earlier in the episode, when Lois is talking to Lana, she says, you guys know that I'm friends with Superman. And she's like, Superman? Why is Superman investigating? I don't know, Morgan Edge. But anyways.
Right.
So we have that.
That's the thing, I'm still curious if she doesn't if she didn't quote unquote figure it out and just, it's not her secret to reveal, but then again, maybe not.
We have the scene in
but also I'm curious about the foreshadowing of Lana says or Lois tells her to be careful because it might be too late by the time, whatever happens. I almost wonder if Lana isn't going to get infused with X-Kryptonite and be Superwoman.
Ooh, that would be interesting. That would be a cool twist and something more for her to do because, I thought about that first part where the past episode where they talk about the car accident they were in and how nobody got hurt. Lana's talking. And it's very obvious, no one got hurt because Clark's Superman. And, it's one of those things that was just the three of them talking. So Lois, Lana, Clark, where all three of them, if she knew, would know that Clark's Superman.
Yeah, some of her lines, and it could just be for the fact that we know who it is, we know the history and stuff. But some of the lines she says makes you think like maybe she's dropping hints so that Clark would like finally tell her who he is, because in the animated series when we saw it, like we knew that he had abilities and stuff. Wait, was that it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Because in the animated series,
was it that she didn't know that he was, or that he didn't know that she knew he was Superman?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's been a while because that's
in the animated series.
She starts dating Lex, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Like she knew, but Clark never told her. Kind of like how Lois was on Smallville, where Lois figured it out, but she was waiting for him to tell her. So for a few episodes there, Clark would make some lame excuse,
I was remembering that right.
And she's like, "Yeah, go ahead, it's fine, Smallville, go for it." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
So I would like that better, honestly, instead of her just being that naive. So we will see. And then the last major,
because some of the lines she delivers, it's kind of like dropping hints, like she kind of knows more, like she knows, like she wasn't told, but she knows, and she's just dropping hints so that way, like maybe one day he'll reveal, especially now that he's living back in Smallville again.
And then the last major beat is when they leave. Lois says to Jordan about, yes, Rocky Road, what am I, 6? And Lois said, so we're. Solomon got excited, like, 6, that's me. And then they're talking, and she says, I thought these powers bring everybody closer together, but really they're driving me apart. And he starts crying, just wanted to end. It's a real emotional moment between mother and son. And then he starts having basically like a seizure. And she says, Clark dashes in, grabs him, and just starts flying him up to the fortress. And then once he gets up in the air, he hits Sonic. See the Sonic boom. And then that's where it ends. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. His super speed in, he grabs, like he comes up, and then they show a quick like X-ray vision. He can see like the synapses firing in his brain. And and then he picks him up, says you got to take him to the fortress, and poof, off he goes.
It was awesome. Like I said, this is my favorite episode of the season so far. It hit all the best beats. I mean, we didn't get we got Jordan kind of angry and frustrated, but we didn't get super I hate the world Jordan. And we got a great dynamic with the brothers.
That was nice.
We got a great,
and not blaming his dad for everything.
Yeah, my thing is I'm a very understanding person, and in a lot of ways, I understand. My dad was in the military, and there's a lot of times he's gone, and because of his job. So I get that to a point. I understand it, but nobody's perfect. That whole thing, but I can understand from both sides. But at times, I feel like Jordan more angry because.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting also. Now we know where the scene from the returning trailer of what looks like Clark at the fortress and a brain going all crazy.
Yeah.
From the trailer. So expect to see that one in the next episode.
I hope so. I hope it picks up right where he's flying. The first shot is into the port. But we'll know.
Right, him landing at the fortress.
We'll know here in a couple of short days.
2 days. Yeah.
I love this episode. It was the best.
It was really good.
I look forward to this show more and more.
Look